normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
We have the story from ABC News. Kevin McCarthy resigning from Congress after being ousted to House Speaker. So this story came out yesterday. At the end of the month, he will resign. He says, I've decided to depart the House at the end of this year to serve America in new ways. This is really funny because there was a tweet. It was a video of, or it was a tweet from him saying, I will not quit. And it is now community noted on Twitter saying he just quit. Brutal. Yeah. So here's the funny thing. This came out last night. Nobody cared. Yeah. Nobody cared that former speaker just announced his resignation. But I think what Matt Gaetz did was fantastic. I'm curious your thoughts, Rep. Crane, on what went down and whether you think this is all good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Matt deserves a lot of credit. Matt took the brunt of that for sure. But there were 8 of us, right? There were 8 Republicans that moved against our own speaker. And so for sure, I think that it was a good idea because I was one of them. Right. And the reason, guys, like I said, is because I didn't get into this. I don't leave my family 3 weeks out of the month with my 2 young daughters because I like Washington, D.C., or I like putting on a suit, or I ever wanted to be called a congressman. Right. I'm terrified with what my kids are going to be left with. And I look at the trajectory we're on, and it's not sustainable. This house of cards is going to collapse. And most people up there don't take it seriously. It's weird, man. It's dystopian.
There's 2 trains of thought on that. I think everybody agrees the House of Cards is going to collapse.
Yeah.
And then you've got some Republicans who are like, guys, let's try and fix this.
Yep.
And then you've got, I'd say, most Republicans and Democrats being like, how much can we loot from the coffers before the cards come crashing down?
Yeah, we call it the uniparty up there.
Right.
Anytime something serious needs to get moved, the uniparty moves in lockstep, and it is Republicans and Democrats. Republicans get pissed at me all the time. I'll get calls from donors, or why is Eli? Why are you attacking Republicans? You need to be fighting against Democrats. That's just one layer to the fight. It is an important layer to the fight, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And if we don't acknowledge our own problems within our own party, this thing's never gonna get fixed. And it's like, I'm just glad that there are people up there who I've seen, even in this last Congress, the 118th Congress, who repeatedly are willing to throw caution to the wind, put their political career on the chopping block, and be like, hey, let's go. Let's do something that's never been done, and let's buck the system. And so, I don't know where that leads, Tim. I'm not a super optimistic guy. My faith isn't in the federal government for good reason, but I do think it's important.
I mean, Matt was talking about this $1 billion IOU machine that Kevin McCarthy builds up, where he goes, all these donors basically hey, we're going to give money to your PAC. We're going to help you get reelected. You're going to control basically the Republican Party in the House. And then when he gets ousted, all those IOUs become toilet paper. So, this machine of favors in D.C. gets shattered. I got to imagine Kevin McCarthy was sweating bullets the whole time because he's not going to be able to pay back any of these favors. He's an indentured servant for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. And here's the thing. Like, if you met Kevin and you hung out with him and you didn't know he was the Speaker of the House, you'd probably be like, this guy's pretty cool. Like, I'd have a beer with him, And but that being said, when you look at what was going on, and when you look at how he was leading the party, there was no desire to change course at all.
I've heard from too many people that he backstabbed their campaigns. That there were populists, America First. There were Trump supporting
for sure, and
reps.
and anybody in that, not I shouldn't say anybody, but most people in that spot would use their power and influence to back candidates that are going to fall in line and do what you're told. And, it's like, that's one of the biggest I'm a military guy. That's one of the biggest knocks on military guys. I remember when I started going up to D.C., Tim, some of the older Republicans looked at me and they're like, Eli, you military guys, you get up here and you don't really fight too hard. You kind of just fall in line and do what you're told. And I said, I know. But that's when you look at your chain of command as the people back home, the 750,000 people that sent you there, it's different than seeing the Republican Party or the Democrat Party as your new chain of command, right? And that's the problem with too many politicians. They see they see their party as their chain of command, and they just fall in lockstep and they do what they're told.
How's life with Mike Johnson, the new speaker? How's it been?
I mean, honestly, we're not. It's really not that much different in that we're still pretty much on the same trajectory, maybe a couple degrees off. And I think that most of us that were involved in ousting Kevin with the motion to vacate believe that that's how it was going to be, just because whoever's speaker is really a representative of the party, and the party is not conservative. It's just not, that being said, he has done a couple good things. And so like when he released some of the January 6 tapes, I think that was a good thing. I think, he's serious about moving forward with, this Biden, impeachment. That's a good thing. But he's shown with, the CR, the continuing resolution that funds the government at the same levels. And even right now with the NDAA and FISA, that, we're probably going to continue to go on the same path with some of those things.
Is it because if he just was like, I'm going to make a bill of getting rid of the CR, that everyone in the party would be like, then no one's going to vote for it, dude. So like, he has to...
what they do, what they do is they scare anybody that gets into leadership, right? Like the intelligence community right now is telling Mike Johnson, hey, if you let FISA lapse or you reform it and FISA goes down for even a little while, and you have right now, who's out there saying that we have more terrorist threats than we ever have before? Christopher Wray, right? So Mike's making these decisions. The intelligence community is scaring the snot out of him, saying, hey, man, if you let FISA lapse and there's a terrorist attack, the blood's on your hands. And that's what they do constantly up there. It's constantly like, if you try and change things, whether it's with spending or a government shutdown or, making adjustments or reforming FISA, they have a way to scare you back into line.
But not only are they going to blame you, but they're not only going to blame you, but they're going to go ahead and they're going to accuse you of trying to make it so that these things can happen.
No, I think it's worse than that.
You're probably right.
I think it's worse than that. When was it Chuck Schumer said that the intelligence agencies have 6 ways from Sunday from coming after you, Donald Trump? Yep. And then they accused Trump of being a Soviet spy. Soviet, literally, from the 80s.
Yeah.
The guy, Jonathan Chait goes on MSNBC and says Trump may have been an asset of the Russians since the 80s. They do multiple impeachments. They do criminal charges. Everything you see them throwing at Trump. I don't think they go to Mike Johnson and they say, look, we got security issues. Don't let us down. I think they sit down at the desk and they say, how's it going? How's the family? I got something for you. And they pull out a picture of JFK and they slide it across the table and say, how you doing?
Yeah, can you imagine that? Like literally, all they have to do is slide a picture of JFK. If someone from CIA shows up at your house and they slide a picture of JFK across the table at you and say, how you doing? Like everyone's sweating. Everyone starts sweating.
Yeah.
They slide a picture of JFK. That's it. They don't got to say anything.
Yeah.
It's the implication.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not saying the implication is true. I'm just saying, it says a lot.
So the intelligence, when you say the intelligence, how'd you phrase it? The intelligence network or the community? Is that who's running our government?
Well, I don't think it's that simplistic. I think it's a mixed bag, right? There's a lot of different influences on the government, right? You also have your lobbyists, your special interest groups, right? You have outside global influences that are obviously affecting our government as well. It's not as simplistic as one, entity, basically running our government.
What is a special interest? I hear this stupid word.
Lockheed Martin.
So it's just a business, a corporation?
Oh, absolutely. Or about the pharmaceutical industry.
Greenpeace.
And so special interest is like a way to spin it to make it sound.
It's motivated.
It's especially interesting.
No. A special interest is an umbrella term for a variety of organizations that want a specific goal to be met. So Greenpeace is a special interest.
They're not colluding, but they want the same goal.
No. Lockheed Martin is a special interest group. They lobby on behalf of themselves. Greenpeace is a special interest group. They lobby on behalf of themselves. No one's going to sit there and be like, the problem we have is, let me pull out 18,000 pages of every single organization ever that's lobbying the government.
So they're just lobbyists.
Special interest groups. powerful organizations from the private and public sector and nonprofits that are lobbying government to make things happen. Some are more powerful than others.
And then if they say it's a lobbyist, that could be just a guy. But if it's a special interest group, it's
a lobbyist.
The lobbyist would be the
organization.
individual that's actually trying to get the politician to do whatever it is that the special interest group wants.
Yep.
The group is the special interest. The lobbyist is the individual.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, there are good lobbyists, right, that are lobbying for good things, but oftentimes, it's it ventures into corruption and seeking things that are so front sight focus on just taking care of one industry.
Front side
There you go.
Ian, you've
my
lobbied
firearms guy got it over here.
I will do it again.
So when you talk to someone who's in Congress and you're like, you got to get graphene.
I was about to say that. We were talking about the House of Cards. We need a graphene
see?
lattice to reinforce
So
the
here's
network.
Ian lobbying
graphene?
Congress.
It's carbon. It's carbon powder, basically. You make it from any kind of carbon, and they figured out
He's
how to
already
hit it with
changed. He's already
electricity.
on the graphene.
You can get like plastic trash and hit it with 7,000
Wait,
degree
wait,
electricity
you
and
jumped
turn it into.
too far ahead.
Okay,
We'll
it's like
simplify it.
21st century steel. It's going to be the next big building material.
It's a one-dimensional sheet of carbon, hexagonally latticed, which has amazing properties when manipulated. So, it's a superconductor.
Yes, and
yeah.
capacitor. You can use it as like a touchscreen battery wallpaper. They put it in car.
Well, I'll give you the real simple version. So Ian's obsessed with this stuff. Right. But the reason I brought it up was to make the point that lobbying, a lot of people have this view of lobbying as this like prestigious thing. And it's like, dude, it literally means you argued to a member of Congress.
Yeah.
They
It's
used
like
to stand in the lobby, literally. That's why they were
Right,
calling
right.
that after. And then when they
So-
came out of the proceeding, they'd be like, hey.
For the sake of Ian's graphene, one thing they started doing is they put it in batteries.
Okay.
And so what that does is when you're charging a battery, the graphene carries the charge evenly across the battery, so it charges rapidly. So I think the newer cell phones that come out could charge to full in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
So you can buy these graphene polymer batteries. You ever get one of those mobile batteries you buy at the Walgreens, whatever, plug your phone in?
Yeah.
They now have graphene lithium batteries that you can charge that battery pack in 15 minutes, and it'll give your phone 2 hours of charge.
Wow.
You can put it
Because-
in
yeah.
concrete and it'll make it 3 times stronger. You can put it in like, this is just bulk graphene where you just shatter it into powder. You can also make sheets of it like Tim was talking about. They can be used as electronics, which is more complicated to produce at the moment.
And this is literally lobbying.
But what I really want to sell you on
not-
is hydrogen fuel.
Right, here we go.
Because if we want to reinforce that House of Cards, we need a new GDP model. And I think it's based on hydrogen. Fortunately, you can turn the oil into graphene so we don't have to upend the oil industry.
Maybe. I don't know. I think fusion energy is promising.
All of it.
Reached
Nuclear.
ignition. Now we just got to capture that energy. And nuclear.
But out of rice, they're making hydrogen fuel like crazy right now with carbon trash. They'll hit it with a laser. They produce a kilogram of hydrogen fuel, and then they have $4.50 left over of this stuff. So it's actually profitable to create the hydrogen.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.